sir.
Okay, fine. Let's start with the chapter. So, as I told you, we are moving to the module 6. Okay, module 5 will be taken later. Module 6, project management. Okay, so this is one of the important chapters. Okay, so we'll start with the uh, basic theory. Okay, so just a second. Okay, so here we are having two acronyms, out of which one is PERT. You can see on the screen, PERT, PERT. Okay, PERT in the sense, the full form of it is Project Evaluation and Review Technique. Okay, so as this particular name of the chapter is Project Management, everything whatever we are doing will be related to some project. Okay, so how to do this particular project, the timing, the duration, the cost, and we are basically dealing with all these things. Okay, so PERT is one of the techniques, and there is second one is CPM, critical path method. We'll see in the next slide. So this is PERT, project evaluation and review technique. So what is this PERT? So PERT is a technique used in the planning and controlling of large scale projects. Okay, so you might have seen like government calls up for a tender. Okay, so for any project, government project, there's a tender that is being called. So in that, so the cost has to be mentioned. Okay, the cost has to be mentioned, the duration has to be mentioned. Okay, so or they will be mentioning the duration. So you need to make your calculations based on whatever manpower you are having, whatever materials you are having, whatever raw materials are needed, how much are you having and how much you need to get it. So based on all these things, you need to make a calculation so that if you want to apply for those particular tender. Okay, so because this particular tenders will be having a deadline, and if you miss that particular deadline, there will be depends on type of project again. There will be some penalties that have to be paid by that particular contractor, person who is taking basically that particular project. Okay, he has to pay some penalties. It could be based on the severity of the project. It could be on minute basis, hour basis, day basis. Okay, so some of the sums we could see later on, like if you are going over the deadline, so per day it would be like 2,500 or 2,000, 20,000, something like this. You need to pay per day. Okay, so this particular uh, duration is very very much important, whether you can reach or complete that particular project within the deadline provided to you. Okay, so that's why this is like the weightage is so much. Okay, very very much important techniques used in the planning and controlling of large scale projects. Okay, so there is one more slide where we are finding out the where PERT and CPM is used. There we can see how big projects are basically taken care by this particular PERT and CPM. Okay, then simply PERT is the statistical tool. Okay, statistics, you know the definition of it, numbers arranged in a certain particular format. Okay, so I'll not repeat much of it. So PERT is a statistical tool used to represent the set of activities. So a project in the sense it's not only one. There are lot of activities, okay, which need to be done one after the other, or there are some which run parallelly also to complete that particular project. So these are called as activities. Okay, so it's a statistical tool used to represent the set of activities, which means a task. Okay, it could be a task also required to be performed for the completion of the project. Okay, so this particular task, so the entire particular project is being broken down into different tasks. Okay, or activities. So completing one after the other activity will lead to the overall completion of the project. Okay, so this is what is the definition of PERT. Okay, PERT is program evaluation and review technique. It is a technique used in the planning and controlling of large scale projects. Okay, then it is a statistical tool used to represent the set of activities or tasks required to be performed for the completion of the project. Next, coming to CPM. CPM in the sense critical path method. Critical path method. So you can ask me, sir, what is this critical path? Okay, so I'll just explain you in brief now. But when you go to the problems, so there you will understand properly what is this particular critical path method, why we are using it, where it is being used, and what are the advantages of it. Okay, so the critical path method is a step-by-step project management technique for process planning. Okay, that defines critical and non-critical tasks. As the name says, critical path method. So here it distinguishes the critical tasks and non-critical tasks. So critical tasks in the sense which are very much important and which takes a lot of time also. Okay, so these are critical tasks, and there are some non-critical tasks but which are essential but not as critical as some of the particular tasks. Okay, so again in the example we'll get to know what are these critical tasks. Okay, with the goal of preventing time frame problems, I just explained to you about the duration, like in the sense a particular project should be completed within a certain period of time which is already being mentioned, or sometimes it is said that you need to mention the duration, how much you need, okay, to finish that particular project. So to apply tender, there are only two things. One is the amount. Okay, basically the tenders are called for that. Okay, the amount and the specification technicalities. Okay, whether you can handle those particular technicalities and reduce the amount as much as possible, so that's why tenders are called. Okay, plus you need to finish that particular project in the specified time duration. Okay, so defines critical and non-critical tasks with the goal of preventing time frame problems and process bottlenecks. So in the one of the previous classes I had explained what is a bottleneck. So too many tasks come and which will line up, which will be waiting for only one or two activities to be completed. Till then these are basically waiting. It's like a normal bottleneck. So you can see a normal bottle where a neck is there. Okay, just a second, I'll just show it to you. So okay, so this is a bottle. If you think this is a bottom of the bottle, and so the bottleneck will be like this, right? So at the initial stage here the diameter is more, and here suddenly the diameter reduces. So this is a bottleneck. Too much of water will come here, then it will wait for this particular water here to move or come out of this, then only it can move, right? So these are called as a bottleneck basically. Okay, so where too many tasks come and meet at a point and they are basically waiting for some of the tasks to continue to proceed further. Okay, so these are bottlenecks. The CPM is ideally suited to projects consisting of numerous activities that interact in a complex manner. Okay, there are too many activities, complex activities which are intersecting, or which are what you call based on one after the other, or uh, what you can say one is related to other in a complex way basically. Okay, so this is critical path method. Okay, it's a step by step project management technique for process planning that defines critical and non critical tasks with the goal of preventing time frame problems and process bottlenecks. The CPM is ideally suited for projects with numerous activities and which interact in a complex manner. Okay, so we'll come back to this if time permits again, like after solving a particular problem, then you'll understand what is this particular thing what we are talking about. Now you might feel that okay, some definition is there. Okay, something called as a bottleneck is there, some activities are there, some complex things are there. Okay, don't worry much about it. So even you can do it once we solve the problem, you can come back and read the particular definition so that you can understand it better. Okay, so now difference between PERT and CPM. So this is one of the important questions. Again it was like almost 80 to 90% sure in the examination for 7 to 10 marks. Okay, or even could be very rarely asked for 3 marks also. Okay, so difference between PERT and CPM. What is this? PERT is a project management technique. Okay, project management technique used to manage uncertain activities of a project. Okay, so more of uncertain activities of the project are taken care by PERT. In CPM, it's a statistical technique of project management that manages well-defined activities of a project. So in PERT, uncertain activities could be taken care of, but in CPM, all the activities should be well-defined. Okay, so coming to PERT again, a technique of planning and control of time. So more of time related things are being taken care by PERT. And in CPM, so what is it? A method of controlling cost and time. Here both cost and time is of more importance. Then third one, event oriented. What is event oriented? CPM is activity oriented. So we'll see what is a event and an activity and all. Okay, so event oriented and activity oriented. Then it is a probabilistic model. Okay, probability, there is a probability, the possibility of happening, the probability. So again, in the problems we need to find out the probability of happening of a certain project or completion of a project within a certain time. Okay, so probabilistic model. And this is a deterministic model, in the sense it is determined like what could be done, because all the what you call the activities are well defined. Okay, because of that, it is a deterministic model stating that yes, it will determine how much will be done in what amount of time. Okay, at what cost. Then Pert, it focuses on time. Okay, this focuses on time and cost trade-off. Okay, if the cost, if you are putting more, okay, like for example, a particular wall has to be built. If two people are building it, okay, it takes around 10 days to complete. But if you put more money, if you instead of two, if you make it 10, if 10 people are working on that particular wall, they could finish it in just 2 days. Okay, so see the time frame now. So two people, 10 days was the time. Okay, but if you employ 10 people, it finishes in only 2 days. But the cost involved, the cost of labor as well as the raw material at a particular moment of time should be more there. So here the whole of that particular raw material was divided into 10 days, but now it is only for 2 days. Okay, so the cost of that particular project increases, the time reduces, the cost increases. So that is what is called as time cost trade-off. One will increase, the other will decrease. Okay, and vice versa. The appropriate for high precision time estimate, the precision of time is more in Pert than CPM, because it is even taking into consideration the cost as well. So here appropriate for reasonable time estimate, it's not that very accurately it will tell you. It will tell somehow, okay, okay, nearly like nearby this time, or very near to this particular time duration. So something that will be told to you. Then no difference in critical and non-critical activities in Pert. Okay, it will not make that particular difference whether it is very important activity or non-important activity. But in CPM, differentiated critical and non-critical activities, so it will tell you which is important activity and which are not that of importance, but all the activities need to be done to complete the project. Okay, but in that also there will be some very important things. Okay, so what are those particular things that are being basically categorized between critical and non-critical? So there is something called as you know, critical path method. It is called as there is a critical path which we need to be finding out. So those activities which come on the critical path are the critical activities. Okay, others are non-critical. It means those are need to be completed but not that very important as of these particular activities. Okay, these are PERT and CPM difference. Again, very important, make sure you note this down. Okay, later on, so applications will come. So before that, the definition of Pert, definition of CPM, then difference between Pert and CPM. So I should have told you this earlier to take it down, but what you can do is you can take a screenshot of this as of now. Okay, then you can write it down in your notes. Fine, take it fast. Okay, fine. Moving to the next one, applications of PERT and CPM. So whatever you feel important, you can take down now. Okay, and whatever you could understand and you can write it down. What you feel you can recall and note it down, you can do it later. Okay, so the applications of PERT and CPM. So what are these applications? So where all this particular PERT and CPM could be used. So these methods have been applied to a wide variety of problems in industries and have found acceptance even in government organizations. So many industries and government organizations have used this, okay, and are very much using them again and again because of the advantages what they give. Okay, then these include construction of dam or a canal system. So how big is this particular project? So nearby many villages will be helped by this particular dams and canals, and also many villages will be submerged. Okay, if there are any villages in that particular area. Okay, so even this particular as big as a particular construction of a dam or a whole canal system, Okay, so this could be done using Pert and CPM analysis. Then construction of a building or a highway. So building in the sense not a small one. We are talking about government scale. Okay, it could be very very big as a whole kind of a school or a whole building, like with multiple rooms. Okay, it could be rooms could be in two digits or even three digits. So we are talking about such big building and highways. Okay, highways like kilometers together highways are there, so for each small stretch like per kilometer there will be crores of amount that should be put, okay, to build particular highways. Okay, so again the time and the cost involved, okay, should be very much known, okay, by the particular builder as well as to the government, which says that it should be completed in within like 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, okay, depending upon the number of lanes, the size of it, and what kind of material you're using, whether you're using tar, whether you're using cement, okay, whether the center bund is ready, okay, the land is acquired, okay, it depends whether you're doing a renewal work or whether you are constructing a new highway. Like many a times you might have seen even in Belgaum itself, you could see that many roads were widened. So this took a lot of time because the uh, construction that was done next to the roads, okay, and it could be some encroached one also, or there could be a new scheme that has come where we are widening that particular road. So we need to give notice to those particular people, like the buildings which have come outside, and everything has to be marked. Then if they don't take action on their own, then government should come in, intervene, then they should demolish as till that particular part, then the road building starts. So just not road in the sense, just it is not that paving that particular way. Okay, so most and many things are involved here. So these every small activity which is there, okay, so this is documented here, and the time duration as well as cost if is given, so are being totally and properly calculated. Okay, then maintenance or overhaul of aeroplanes. Okay, it's like servicing of aeroplanes. So aeroplane is a very big what you call a machine where different components are there, and there is a particular procedure to do it. So first we need to go this particular part only. This particular part has to be overhauled first or maintained first, okay, or opened first to reach the next compartment or the next device. So something like this, it's a huge machine with multiple parts, so there is a lot of precision that is required, and lot of steps are there. Okay, so to do those things also, it is very much important. Then oil refineries. So refineries in the sense, I don't know how many of you know, when the oil comes, it will not be like petrol, diesel, or anything. When it comes out from the ground, when they take it out, it is called as crude oil. Okay, it is called as crude oil. Everything is a mixture from tar to the gasoline which is used in aeroplanes. It is one of the highest or the purest form of fuel that is available where they are using in aeroplanes. So all from the tar that particular road is being made from there till the gasoline, okay, where aeroplane is used, everything is a mixture. Then it is been broken down into different things. Okay, like petrol, diesel, kerosene, tar, then what you call your petroleum jelly, the Vaseline or Bioline, whatever it is. So even that is a uh, product from that particular cracking. It is called as cracking process basically. So all these products come, okay, basically they are mixed. So these are bifurcated, or these are removed from that mixture one by one. Okay, there is a huge process for it which is called as cracking. Okay, so diesel comes out, petrol comes out, kerosene comes out, tar comes out, then gasoline, the purest form, that comes out. Okay, then petroleum jelly. So in general, this particular Vaseline or whatever thing you are using at home for various things, so this is called as petroleum jelly in between. Okay, so it is a jelly that comes out as a byproduct, okay, while extracting these particular things like the petrol, diesel, and all. Okay, so that is also done. So too many things are there where which are combined in one thing. So the process is a very huge one. Okay, where at different stages different product is coming out. Then space flight. See how important is space flight. A smallest of the smallest thing has to be taken care. Otherwise, it is a failed mission. Okay, so too much of money is involved there. Time frame is there because the planets and other things they move around. So to get that favorable time, okay, to like how many of you have seen Mission Mangal? If you had seen, so every 18 months or so only we can launch that particular aircraft so that the Earth and the Mars. I'm talking about Mars now because of Mission Mangal, which come very near to each other. Okay, so that the distance traveled is less, the fuel required is less. Okay, the time required to reach there is less. Okay, so this is very much important. So even the time, like if you start building today and in another 2 3 months only that particular time comes, if you miss that particular time, you need to like incorporate more fuel to reach over there, or you need to wait for next 18 months. Okay, next 18 months to launch that, right? So again, it depends on the weather, the temperature, is there, if there is any cyclone or anything, okay, anomalies basically. So we need to take care of all these things. Okay, beforehand we need to know whether these things are there, whether what is the probability of having a rain. Okay, what is the probability of a typhoon, if any. Okay, so these all things are coming under again important CPM. Then cost control of a project. Okay, so we spoke about the time and the activities. Now we are coming to cost control of a project, designing a prototype of a machine. So many of you might have heard prototype, the word prototype. What is prototype? Prototype means it is an initial model of something. It could be the actual size model, or it could be a small size, or it could be even a increased size. Okay, than whatever the product is there. Like for example, you go to any auto expo. Okay, the new cars that are coming are kept by each and every companies. Okay, or there could be some concept models. So what are they? They are physically present there. They have built it, but very less in number. Okay, very less in number. It could be one, two, okay, or it could be five, or it could be only one also. So to test, okay, to test how it looks. So what changes could be made, or what challenges are like could be faced. Okay, while using those particular product. To do that, that is a first prototype we call. So basically, we do it to test. Okay, then comes development of supersonic planes. So what is this supersonic? Supersonic, hypersonic, subsonic, you might have heard. Okay. The word sonic is referring the speed of sound in air. Okay. Supersonic in the sense the planes that are going faster than the speed of sound. Okay. The speed of sound is 343 meters per second. 343 meters per second. Or if you want to understand it in kilometers, it is 1235 kilometers per second. Okay, that particular plane travels at 1235 kilometers per second. This is the speed of sound. Not at this particular speed, it will travel more than that speed. Then it is called a supersonic. So if any plane that flies below this particular speed, it is called a subsonic. Okay, and these particular things are measured in terms of Mach, MACH, Mach 1, Mach 2, Mach 3, you might have heard. Okay, in terms of missiles, this particular missiles moves at a speed of Mach 3. In the sense, it flies at a speed of, or it moves at a speed of three times the speed of sound. That is Mach 3, three times the speed of sound. That means I told you right, 343 meters into 3. So whatever the number comes, it that particular missile moves that much meters per second. Okay, so just imagine how speed is that. Okay, how fast is that particular thing moving. Okay, so similarly, all aeroplanes are not moving at that speed. Only the fighter planes are moving at that particular speed, where only one to two pilots are basically sitting over there. Okay, so what happens is a lot of G's in the sense gravitational force has to be what you call endured by those particular pilots. Normal people cannot do that. Okay, so this is supersonic planes. Even in the development of the supersonic planes, the application of Pert and CPM is used. Okay, next coming to network diagram representation. So to come up with this Pert and CPM, so we need to draw a network diagram. Okay, we need to represent all the activities, the duration and the cost in a particular way. So this is particular way is called as a network diagram. So this is what I was telling you from the basic. If you are not knowing, or if you skip some parts of this particular two classes, minimum I'm talking about minimum of these two classes, today's and the next one class, so you will not be able to understand, okay, or it will be very difficult for you to understand. Okay, so what is this network diagram? Now coming to this network diagram. In project scheduling, the first step is to sketch an arrow diagram which shows interdependence and the precedence relationship among activities of the project. So what is this? This is basically a diagram which is an arrow diagram where arrows will be showing you the particular activities, okay, and the relationship between them, and the important word is precedence here. What is precedence? Precedence in the sense something is happening. What is before that? Okay, presiding before is precedence. So before, if like for example you reaching college, where were you before this? You were at home, or you were at a particular bus stand or somewhere. Okay, that is precedence. So there is something called as precedence activity. We'll see that precedence activity means which activity you are seeing before that, what activity has happened. So that is a precedence activity, right? So in a network representation of a project, certain basic definitions are used. So this is very, very much important. Take this down. Okay, while I am explaining, you can take these particular things down. Or if you want to write it later, take screenshot. It is very, very much important, but make sure you are writing all these things. So first one is an activity. We just saw what is an activity, but we'll see the definition of it. What is it? What actually activity means in Pert and CPM? Okay, activity means an individual operation which utilizes resources. Okay, so it's an individual operation which utilizes resources and has an beginning and an end. Okay, so an activity, it starts and it ends, and it uses certain resources. Okay, is called an activity. An arrow is commonly used to represent. Arrow in the sense something like this. An arrow is used to, remember this. An arrow, if you want, you can underline this. An arrow is commonly used to represent an activity. So underline the sense this part. An arrow is commonly used to represent an activity. Okay. So you'll see, we'll go over there. We are basically using this. Okay. So if you remember what an particular activity is, so students go confusing in this. There are two ways of drawing this. Okay. So in two different ways, the information can be given in a particular problem. Okay. So if you are aware of what is an activity, what is a node and all, so next it will come. So then it is very easy for you to draw. Otherwise it is very difficult, you get confused. Okay, and you will never get whatever the representation was supposed to be there. Okay, so I told you, underline this if you want. An arrow is commonly used to represent an activity with its head indicating the direction of progress in the project. So this particular head, okay, this head, it will tell you in which direction the project is moving. So I have drawn towards the right side. So now the project is moving from left to right. So this particular activity, it could be given as A, B, C, D. So I'll just write it on top here as A. Okay, I'll write it as A here. So this is an activity which is A. It could be anything. It could be anything. You can, A could be anything. Like if you want to come up with a particular like making a stool, for example, you are trying to make a chair. Okay, trying to make a chair. uh, the activity A could be getting the raw materials. Okay, so it is being represented by A, B, C, D, E, or it could be actual uh, activities. The name of the activities only could be there. Okay, we never know. Okay, next activity B could be there, which is cutting off, or marking and cutting off the exact sizes that are required to basically make a particular chair. Okay, this is an activity. So these are usually classified into following four categories. So what are these four categories? So here it is. So I was talking to you about predecessor. Okay, so here you can see all those things. So predecessor activity. So what is a predecessor activity? So activities that must be completed immediately prior to the start of another activity are called predecessor activities. Okay, so what I'm telling you, understand this. Activities that must be completed immediately prior to the start of another activity. That means I am about to start a particular activity. So which is okay. So activities that must be completed immediate prior to the start of this. So I am actually starting an activity, but if I say an predecessor activity, if I say an predecessor activity, that means whenever I'm starting a particular project, I'll make it 5 minutes. Okay, students, immediately starting this particular a particular event has to be completed. So that is called as a predecessor activity. Then next coming to successor activity. So what is a successor activity? Successor activity is something. So successor means coming next. Predecessor means before. Like for example, you can say, okay, who was the president of America? The predecessor of the present president. So present president is Joe Biden. The predecessor was, who was the predecessor? Anyone? Who was the predecessor to Joe Biden?
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah, Donald Trump.
Donald
So
Trump.
he was the predecessor. Now you understood. Correct. So successor, we never know who will be next. Okay. So in US, there is basically 2 terms they are allowed to be in president. After that, they cannot contest. Only 2 terms. So that's why Trump was trying for the second term, but he did not uh, was successful to become the president. But Joe Biden became the successor, in the sense the person who is coming next. Okay, like you might have heard in history. Okay, look, this king was there, then his successor, his son, or whoever it is. So his successor was this particular person. Okay, something like this. The successor is a person who comes next. Okay, so the activities that cannot be started until one or more of the activities are completed, but immediately succeed them are called as successor activity. So if you are doing something now, after finishing that particular activity, whatever you start, whatever you start is a successor activity. Okay, so but immediately you need to do after whatever you are doing now. So that is called as a successor activity. Okay, next is concurrent activity. So what is a concurrent activity? So concurrent activity means activities which can be accomplished simultaneously are known as excuse me, concurrent activities. So it may be noted that an activity can be predecessor or a successor to an event, or it may be a concurrent with one or more of the other activities. Concurrent means simultaneously happening. So there might be 2 or 3 activities or even more, okay, which are happening simultaneously. So, like for example, if you are about to finish a construction of a house, so if you have ever visited your own house or your relatives or whatever, so if you visit a house which is about to be completed in another month or so, so what will be happening over there? Concurrent activities will be happening. Like a plumber comes and he will be doing the plumbing activity. Okay, the person electrician, he will be doing the electrical activities. Okay. The tiles person, you will be checking out wherever the tiles are not properly fit, or at some places they might have left deliberately, that at the last it could be done, they'll be doing it. Okay, some part which all the things are done, some painting would be going on. So all these particular things are going in parallel or simultaneously. Okay, the plumber will be doing his work in the designated place. The carpenter, he will be doing whatever the cupboards and all the finishing, so his part he will be doing. The electrician, he will be doing his part. Okay, so the painter, he will be doing his part, but all are moving at a simultaneous rate. So this is called as a concurrent activity, where two or more than two activities are happening simultaneously. This is called as a concurrent activity. Okay, next is a dummy activity. Okay, so first one predecessor, second one successor, third one concurrent, and the fourth one is dummy activity. So you might have heard this particular term dummy. Dummy in the sense it's for namesake. Okay, so what is this dummy activity and when it is used? Okay, an activity which does not consume any kind of resource. Okay, so you might have seen, you might have remembered what is an activity. An activity is something which has an beginning and an end, and which uses certain kind of resources. So what is a dummy activity? What will a dummy activity mean? A dummy activity is which will not consume any kind of resource. Okay, which will not consume any kind of resource but merely depicts the technological dependence. Okay, so again, when we are solving the problem, we'll understand why and where we are using this dummy activity. So basically, it helps you to understand the precedence and the succession activities. Okay, so that's why this particular dummy activity is used, where it is not using or consuming any kind of resource but merely depicts the technological dependence, is called a dummy activity. It may be noted that the dummy activity is inserted in the network to clarify the activity pattern. I just told you, to better understand which is the precedence, and also there could be at times the complex, as the term was used, complex interrelation. So to understand this complexity, or to uh, reduce a certain complex thing, okay, as much as possible, we are using this dummy activity. So it may be noted that dummy activity is inserted in the network to clarify the activity pattern in the following two situations. So what are those two situations? One, to make activities with common starting and finishing points distinguishable. So for example, same time or from a same place, two activities are originating and they are completing at the same place. So to show this, so I told you a arrow is shown. So you cannot show one above the other two activities. Okay, so a dummy activity will be shown at that particular time, showing the other one of the activities, basically, where it will start at one time and it will end at the other time. Okay, then to second one, to identify and maintain the proper precedence relationship between activities that are not connected by events. Okay, like for example, after plumbing only the painter, or for example, after plumbing and the electrician's work, only the painter can start his work. Okay, so how we will show this? Like there is no relationship, right? Actually, there is no relationship between a plumber, a painter, and a particular electrician. They are doing their own different works, but the painter has to paint all the things, okay, where a wall is there, okay, basically where a particular plumbing line runs, okay, or a electrical line runs. So this is the connection, basically. So as I told you, simultaneously work also could be happening, but some places he has to, the painter has to wait. But if you think that initially if he paints, what happens? So there will be drilling, there will be some cutting and all those things which will be done, and certainly what happens is again he has to paint that particular wall. So what basically is done is, first we'll complete the electrical work, the plumbing work, then the painting will be done at the last. Okay, so that again and again there will be no mess that is created due to the process of the plumbing and the electrical work that they are doing, right? So to show this particular precedence and the succession, these dummy activities are used. They are nowhere related, right? So at some time, but I need to, I can directly. So a dummy activity is used at that particular moment. Okay. And next is event. So first one was activity. Under that, four activities: precedence, succession. Okay. Then there's the third one. Third one was concurrent, and the fourth one was dummy activity. Then now coming to second one, that is an event. Okay, an event represents a point in time. An event represents a point in time signifying the completion of some activities and the beginning of new ones. So what is an event? It shows completion of some activities and beginning of the new ones. This is usually represented by a circle in the network, which is also called a node or a connector. Okay, in normal terminologies, we are not using the word event. We use a node or a connector most of the times. Okay, so uh, I will be using the term node. So what is this node? A node is a circle. Okay, so it is like from one node to another node we are moving. So an activity is between one node to another node. Basically, it is drawn like this. So I could put here one, this is two, and this is an activity A. So the activity A is starting from node 1 and it is reaching node 2. That means after node 1, the beginning of activity A happens and at node 2 this particular activity will end. So what is this activity? It is A, and I will show you the representation of time. So time required would be next to this, it will be written in a bracket, like for example 2. So it could be 2 hours, 2 days, 2 minutes, whatever. So I will write it like this. So A2 in the sense the duration of this particular activity A is 2. It could be 2 minutes, 2 hours, 2 days. It will start after 1 and it will end at 2. So this is what they are meaning. So event, if you see here, it is starting here from this particular node and it is ending at second. So that is what they are telling you here. It is usually represented by circle, not that. Okay, satisfying the completion of some activities and beginning of new ones. So after this, there could be one more activity. It could start here like this. Okay, it could be 3. Okay, it could be 3. The event, the activity could be B, and it could take 5 could take 5 hours. Okay, this is how we are representing. Okay, so this is an event usually given by a circle, also called as a node or a connector. So the following events can occur or could be further classified into the following three categories. It is merge event, burst event, and merge and burst event. Merge event, burst event, merge and burst event. So these are the three things or three categories of events. So we'll stop here. So we'll see about this merge event, burst event, and merge and burst event in the next class. So make sure, again I am repeating, don't miss the next class also. Very, very much important. Tell your friends who could not come to this particular class, ask them to go through this particular video. I'll be uploading it in some time or most probably tomorrow morning. So ask them to go through this thing, then only come to the next class. Otherwise, this chapter is a bouncer. Okay, so this is a basic of the project management. Okay, then next coming to like this, whatever I am drawing here, like how to show a particular node, what is an activity, how it is connected. So in the next class we are basically looking at one of the problems. So if you understand whatever I have told you today or taught you today, then only you will understand the problem. Otherwise it will be a bouncer to you. So it is very much important, the merge event, burst event, these are majorly happening, or the third one, that is all of these three will be happening in your particular schematic diagram. Okay, so these are happening, so you need to understand what is a merge event, what is a burst event. Okay, what is merge and burst event, what is an activity, what is an event, what is pert, what is cpm, advantages, the difference between pert and cpm, where they are used, that is the application of pert and cpm. Okay, these are very, very much important. Okay, if you understand these, then only we can move ahead. So again, if you have not understood anything, go back. Okay, go through this particular class again. If you still don't understand, ask me in the next class. Okay, fine students, we'll stop for the day. We'll meet you guys in the next class.